The 400cc Supersport class, the opportunity for the stars of tomorrow to show their mettle. And just such one of those stars, Jason Vincent, third place in the title standings. Paul Brown, another flyer, is above him. Steve Ives, however, leads on the 400 Yamaha. Jamie Witham is on the front row and he's fourth in the title. David Jefferies and Darren Mitchell complete the top 6 in the championship. This, the third round. The class opened to 250cc, 2 strokes, 400cc, 4 strokes. In tricky qualifying yesterday, Witham was second fastest. Jim Moodie, the Glaswegian, stormed around for pole position. Martin Jupp, Jeremy McWilliams and David Jefferies. So Jefferies, a rare talent there from the famous Jefferies family from Shipham. Jamie Witham went round yesterday and was in confident mood as he looked at Brands Hatch for us.
Hi, I'm Jamie Witham. Join me for a lap of the full Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch on the 750cc Team Grand Suzuki. Leaving the pit lane now towards the first corner, which is Paddock Hill Bend. On a flying lap, this would be 4th gear, perhaps 120 miles an hour. Accelerate down the dip, up the other side towards Druids Bend. This is the slowest corner on the track, about a 40 or 50 mile an hour corner. Just get into 4th gear for Graham Hill Bend, a downhill left-hander, then accelerating hard, cranked over towards Surtees. Again, quite slow, 2nd gear, perhaps 60 miles an hour this one. And then accelerating hard onto the fastest part of the circuit. Approaching perhaps 165 miles an hour at this point. Then braking back down 2 gears into 4th for Hawthorne, 120 mile an hour right-hander. And staying in 4th for Westfield, again 120, 130 mile an hour right-hander. Accelerating hard out of there. Down the dip and then braking hard for the chicane. This is the newest part of the circuit. The bikes can take it almost in one sweep. And Stirling, left-hand corner, by 80 miles an hour. Then down towards Clearways where we rejoin the short Indy circuit. Coming out of here at perhaps 120 miles an hour. And that's Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. Thanks for joining me.
Well, it was pretty clear when Jamie was going round, but there are now 40 riders lined up for the 400cc Supersports class. Basically, and I repeat, a class for road-type machines. Road tyres must be used, lead-free fuel must be used. The class open to 400cc 4-cylinder 4-stroke machines and 250cc 2-strokes. And the green light goes, and there was a bit of a tussle away from the line as 10 riders hurtle in one big bunch into Paddock Hill Bend. They have to really get themselves sorted out here. On street tyres, clouds are threatening. Hopefully the rain will stay away. 12 laps, 31.2 miles the full distance as the entire field rounds Druids. Alongside me, as usual, Roger Burnett, former Grand Prix rider. Roger, this class over 12 laps, I don't see too many of them getting too far away.
No, the bikes are fairly even in this class, and isn't it nice and healthy to see so many bikes there out on the grid as they round Surtees corner there and go down to Pilgrim's Drop. The bikes are very close, and as you said at the beginning of the programme, it does give the youngsters a chance to shine through, and I think this year we'll see some very good riders develop from this 400 class.
Waiting now to pick up the leader, and it'll be the first time around this circuit. Number 8, in fact, out in front, Darren Mitchell. Well, he was on the front row. Darren Mitchell from Elland on the Colin Sanderson KR1 Kawasaki, the vivid green Kawasaki, unmistakable. That looks like Jim Moodie with the pink helmet and the pink bike there in second place. Jim Moodie it is from Glasgow, number 15 on the Howard Cross motorcycles. So Moodie, a good second place for him. RGV 250 Suzuki, as ridden by Jamie Witham, proving a force to be reckoned with. In third place, it's number 27, and that's Bruce Wilson. David Hill also going well, number 22. Jeremy McWilliams, number 38, in fourth place. Then it's Jamie Witham on the Suzuki in fifth. Steve Ives, who in fact has had a win and a second place, is down in sixth place. So Steve Ives, the 25-year-old window fabricator from Hyde in Cheshire, riding with Jamie Witham now, rear-facing camera. There is Steve Ives, number one, looming large on the back end of Jamie Witham. So this is what it's like when you're under pressure from the Stockport Centre Motorcycles Yamaha of Steve Ives. Gone past Witham, so Witham has been relegated by Steve Ives. He's on the wide line, flicking it over on the right-hander. .38 going well. Jeremy McWilliams from Newtown Abbey on the Kawasaki. There's Ives, there's Witham, number 69, in shot now with that rear-facing camera, flicking it through the chicane. Roger, the Yamaha of Steve Ives, a lot of people were quite astonished that it could hold its own, but it certainly is a very quick bike.
Yes, it was rumoured actually that it may be slightly illegal, but those rumours were shunned straight away, and in fact it is a very legal bike and a very quick bike. I think everybody thought that the two-stroke 250cc machines would have the edge in this 400 class, but Steve Ives with the 400cc four-stroke appears to have the edge. It was definitely quicker than the Suzuki of Jamie Witham's. Jim Moodie there shaking his fist. There were some real hectic moments then going into Paddock Bend between these two.
Third place being held by David Heel. Heel, number 22, from Hailsham in Sussex, is in third place, and it was only 9 weeks ago he broke his wrist quite badly. Mondello Park in Ireland, Heel crashed. He's recovered from that injury, and he's really hanging on now to the coattails of Jim Moodie, the pink bike. You can't mistake it there in second place. Number 15 is Moodie. In your picture, there's David Heel, number 22, right with him. So Moodie under real pressure. Third in the 400cc Supersports TT in the Isle of Man, Jim Moodie. So he knows how to ride the Howard Cross Yamaha. Roger, just quickly tell us, how easy is it for these riders, or how difficult, should I say, to adapt back to this sort of racing after the 37 3/4 Ireland circuit?
It's very difficult. There are very few differences between it. This Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch has plenty of runoff in the majority of places. It really represents a very smooth surface by comparison to the Isle of Man road circuit. And because really there aren't any obstacles to hit should you crash, it tends to let you ride perhaps at 100%, whereas at the Isle of Man TT you may restrict yourself to 90%. Having said that, some of the lap times there this year maybe indicated that some of the riders were actually lapping the island circuit at 100%. But this is very close and furious racing here in the 400 class. I'm quite surprised that Witham has dropped off the pace like he has. He seems to be struggling a little bit now to keep with this leading bunch, as Steve Ives has moved up to join them, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see Steve Ives at the front.
Well, number 8, Darren Mitchell, is out front of Jim Moodie, and rain is beginning to fall quite significantly here now at Brands Hatch, which could entail maybe the race to be stopped for the riders to effect a tyre change. Maybe Roger Burnett can enlighten us as to exactly what's going to happen there just a little bit later. But there's the race leader. Rain is falling quite severely. Roger, what does this mean?
I think it's almost inevitable that they will have to stop the race. These machines, however, are running on road tyres, so they have got tread on them. So it may be that the officials let the race run. By tread, I mean the slick tyre is visibly a ball tyre. These have a tread pattern cut in them. So in effect, maybe they will let the race continue to run. I can't see the advantage of stopping it because they wouldn't be able to change to use a slick tyre anyway. So unless there is an accident which causes the race to be stopped, I can only imagine that it will continue to run.
That's a good point, because we're so used to seeing the flags go out the moment rain starts to fall, but of course street tyres are the order of the day in this class, and there's little they can do, so they really do have to just cool the pace, be very aware of the conditions, and they will. Of course, it's very slippery now going into Paddock Hill. Jim Moodie is on the outside, number 15. They are feeling their way very gingerly round here, almost setting up, and an enormous snake there. You can see just what happens when the conditions get tricky. That was Darren Mitchell almost in a heap, and that certainly will have given him something to think about. And Moodie is twitchy as well. They're all very, very twitchy, and I can't say I blame them. This is precarious motorcycling indeed. The top 6 now are on Cooper Straight, but a lot for them to think about now, Roger.
You don't need me to tell you how slippery the circuit is from those shots there of Moodie and Mitchell snaking around all over. They'll find it difficult now to adapt, having been used to a dry track, to adapt to a wet one. It's much easier to be on a wet track and the track dry and actually increase your pace. They now have to decrease their pace. They will find it very difficult, and I'll be very surprised if they're all upright at the end of it.
Well, possibly the most experienced rider in that leading quartet is Jim Moodie, and that is showing now. And I'll be very careful what I say about Jim Moodie, because I have been known to preempt a tumble. The red flag is out. The race is being stopped. Presumably, Roger, this will mean the race is stopped until the conditions improve.
Yes, unless someone's overlooked the fact that these machines are running on treaded tyres. I don't run one myself. I can only imagine that there is a softer compound that may be used in such conditions as we're experiencing here now. So we'll just have to wait and see till they get back to the start as to whether they choose to change tyres or not. But I can only really think this is going to be a shower.
So the 400cc Supersports stopped halfway into the proceedings by rain. It looks as though that's it. The weather here really setting in from Brands. We'll have to wait and see how the organisers reschedule. The restart of the Supersport 400cc class will be over 8 laps of the 2.6-mile Brands circuit. The first half having been stopped after 4 laps due to torrential weather conditions. The 2 halves will be added together, and the best aggregate point score will decide the winner. So the revised front row, Darren Mitchell there on pole position, Steve Ives, David Heel, Jim Moodie, who just won the 600s in convincing style, and Jeremy McWilliams, who's had a terrific day here at his first appearance on the full Grand Prix Brands circuit. The circuit beginning to dry out. The sun is coming through. I will be talking later to Roger Burnett about tyre choice, because I'm not totally convinced. Of course, these are road tyres anyway, so I don't see that it's going to make that much difference. A great start by number 15, Jim Moodie. Again, the distinctive colours of Moodie, so he's in winning form. Jim Moodie streaks round ahead of David Heel. We might see the times approach something like the original qualifying times if it dries out enough, Roger. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, I think so. These conditions are perhaps the most difficult, because they lead you into a sense of false security, in that the track appears to be drying. You psychologically feel that there is more grip available, and then it can just catch you out. Whereas if it's raining quite hard, then you can read the circuit a lot more easily. But Jim Moodie, being out on the 600, will have an advantage, as with Steve Ives, really, his second place in the 600. They will know the track conditions from the previous race and be able to just push it that little bit harder, because it's dried up a little bit more.
Well, Moodie's on the 250 Yamaha, the Howard Cross Motorcycles Yamaha. This class open to 250cc 2-strokes or 400cc 4-stroke 4-cylinder machine. Steve Ives is on one such machine. Number 38 going well behind Jim Moodie is Jeremy McWilliams, and we saw him go very well in the 250 race. Jim Moodie it is then. The Ulsterman McWilliams is in second. And third place as they weave their way through, looking to pick up the number. That's a difficult one. The number almost obliterated from the third place machine, but no mistaking McWilliams in second. Jim Moodie out in the lead. Under the bridge then, Moodie. McWilliams. That's David Heel. No, it isn't. That's number 31. I beg your pardon. That's David Jefferies. David Jefferies, who slid off in the 600. You can see the mud all up the right-hand side of his leathers. He dumped the 600 in the dirt, but he's on song again in the Supersports 400 class. Jefferies on a 250 RGV 250 Suzuki. They are a remarkably quick motorbike, aren't they, Roger?
Absolutely. He's having a great ride, Jefferies, because having crashed in the 600, you would have thought that would have knocked the edge off his confidence a little bit, but it doesn't appear to be doing. In fact, this is the corner that he did crash on the 600, the exit from Druids Bend here, taking that nice and gingerly. But Moodie appears to have things mostly under control, although McWilliams, his run in the 250, as we saw, he's hoping to repeat that success, and he's gaining on Moodie, actually.
Well, the caption you see, which denotes lap 6, is in fact the aggregate lap. So we have added the 2 laps completed to the 4 laps completed in part 1 before the rains came down. And we are working on a total score basis, aggregate points, and a total race distance of 12 laps. Leading then, Jim Moodie, and pushing really hard around the outside, Jeremy McWilliams, number 38. That was a brilliant move by McWilliams. In the Supersport 400 event, McWilliams is riding an RGV 250 Suzuki. These two are really at it, hammer and tongs, but Moodie back out in front.
Yeah, of course, they're having to ride very closely because, as you can see, there is a slightly drying line around the circuit, and that's the racing line. Now, should you wish to pass someone, you have to venture off that line where the track is wetter, so therefore they will have to ride very closely indeed if they want to overtake. But these two don't give an inch, and I think we're going to see some fireworks.
Well, McWilliams Suzuki, supplied by Mark Hamilton and Rodney Johnson from Northern Ireland, so a great deal of support for the Ulsterman there, and a great effort he's putting in behind the Scot. Moodie then from Glasgow, already won victory under his belt today, looking to go for a double. There's the dry line that Roger Burnett was talking about, and Moodie is picking his way round that very narrow dry line. Street tyres, remember, on these bikes, and they are getting just a little bit quicker every lap. The sun is out in a big way here at Brands, and it really is quite warm in the commentary point, and an enormous twitch by the back end of Jim Moodie's Yamaha. In third place, it looks like Ives. I'm waiting to pick him up, but we're locked in this battle now for first and second. This is indeed a great 400cc tussle. Darren Mitchell, in fact, it looks like in third place. That really is an awkward number plate on that third place machine. Difficult to pick it up. Looking to see if it's number 31. David Jefferies, of course. David Jefferies right there now. Now, this is a turn up for the books. The youngsters, Roger Burnett said, far from being detuned. And number 8 retiring is Darren Mitchell. Darren Mitchell was on the front row and had a really good first half to the race. So that's dented his ego, dented his points, and put him out of the total reckoning. So these three, and as I was saying before Mitchell retired, young David Jefferies, far from being detuned, seems to be going quicker than ever.
He's certainly got the bit between his teeth, and I feel that Moodie is holding things up a little bit here. I think McWilliams, if he could just get past Moodie, as I explained, that's quite difficult because of this drying line, and venturing off it, you go onto the wet part. Jefferies looks there to have passed McWilliams on the entry into Clouet. In fact, he has. Maybe he's going to try and challenge Moodie and take up the running at the front.
Well, you can see for yourselves just how dry it is now on the outside of the start-finish area as they go down towards Paddock Hill Bend. And young David Jefferies from Shipley, whose father Tony is here avidly watching the proceedings. I'm looking at him now, sitting down there, watching with a great deal of interest. Road racing, of course, in fact, motorcycling, period, runs through the veins of the Jefferies family, all the way back to the Alan Jefferies motorcycle dealership in the pre- and post-war era. Tony himself, no mean competitor in the TT for a great number of years before suffering an injury which sadly curtailed his motorcycling career. But here's his son out here, young David, who has just stolen the lead from Jim Moodie. David Jefferies is now out in front, much to his father's delight, and Uncle Nick, well, Uncle Nick will be fairly pleased as well, won't he, Roger?
Yeah, I just hope Uncle Nick's watching. He's going to be very impressed with his nephew. I do feel the four-stroke of Moody's perhaps has got a speed advantage, which could come into play a little bit later in the race when they're looking to jostle for the last lap positions. But Jefferies riding brilliantly, and I can't get over how that crash hasn't put him off as McWilliams slots up the inside of Moodie there. I think McWilliams is going to go for a charge now and try and get with Jefferies, but the tussle is definitely between these three.
Oh, look at Moodie scything back into second place. So we really have a battle on our hands now, and as the track is drying as we speak, the bikes are going round faster as we speak, and Jim Moodie is not content to let the youngster Jefferies walk away with this one. He's going to fight back as best he can. He's stolen second again because he was pushed down by McWilliams into third, and another twitch from the back end. He really is struggling with the rear end of that Yamaha. Onto the straight again they come, but Jefferies now has stretched the gap to something like, well, I mean, it's visual, there's nothing in it in a question of time. It's marginally 0.3 of a second, but there's nothing between them now. Down towards Halewood Hill and up towards Druids. Moody's on the inside, and down goes a precautionary foot from David Jefferies. That was enough to throw his concentration and just dent his confidence a little bit.
Certainly was, and he had to move out onto the wet part of the track, which was he was unable to lean the bike over and get it into the corner. That slight mistake, which was actually locking the front wheel under braking up to Druids hairpin, he would have got away with in the dry, because he could have just flipped the machine back over on its side and no time lost. But going off that dry line is the problem, and the conditions are varying round the track. The start and finish straight is almost dry now right the way across it, but these parts that around Hawthorne and Westfield Bend, down Pilgrim's Drop as they go now, will be slightly wetter because they're shaded by the trees.
Well, another new name for us to conjure with. Young Jefferies is definitely going to feature in the rest of the Supersports 400cc proceedings for the 1991 season. Another rare talent to emerge. Young Jason Vincent, of course, was up there in the early rounds, but now we've got Jefferies, and he's mixing it with the very best people at their game. Jefferies then in the middle. Now this is the aggregate point score as they stand at the moment. Moodie on 15. There's McWilliams on 38. Ives heel. So McWilliams is the man, but look at young Jefferies' score, 31. So that's impressive indeed. Jefferies then. Moodie now 5 or 6 lengths. And I think maybe David Jefferies has just burned out his fire. It's possible. He looks to have cooled it just a bit, Roger.
It's very difficult to know what's going through the minds of the riders. I do know that he's had a couple of near misses. He'll be wanting to settle down and get his confidence and rhythm back and then have another go at Moodie. If Moodie appears to be getting pit signals that show him that he's edging away, he may relax a little bit and Jefferies may nick back at him as this lap progresses. But they're getting a little bit too close to the white lines for my liking. Those white lines on the edge of the track are still very slippery, and the shot that we get of them as they go through the chicane, they're awfully close to those. I just hope that they're not going to get on them and the back wheel spin and cause them to high side.
Well, they're riding round what is tantamount to a metre-wide strip of dry tarmac, and there's just not room for everybody on it. That's why they're a little bit in tow, line astern here, and Jefferies is down to third again. So Jeremy McWilliams, number 38 from Newtown Abbey, is up to second place, consolidating his position. He had a great result in the 250. And look at the way he's going in this one. So what a super day for this man here at Brands Hatch. Jim Moodie equally is on target now for another win, but it's still very slippery, and McWilliams is all over the place as they come onto the start-finish. They're dropping young David Jefferies away. and he's settling for what appears to be a fairly safe third place. Ives is now well down. He's 8 seconds adrift of McWilliams, so Ives well down. Moodie, however, still with this scrap going on, and McWilliams is not giving up at all. I think he's got the measure of Jim Moodie, it looks like it.
Yep, as I said, sometimes you can sit back and relax a little bit, get a second lease of life, and really have a go. I think the problem here is, as I keep saying, and you're probably fed up with me talking about it, but this dry line or drying line is causing the riders not to overtake and as they would normally do. And I think if he could once get past Moodie, then he may just be able to pull away.
The RGV 250 Suzuki, number 38 of McWilliams versus the Yamaha, number 15 of Jim Moodie. And Moodie has just climbed on this. Remember, having just lifted the 600 win, he came straight off the 600 to put his leg over the Supersport 400, and he's going with the same amount of verve and tenacity and determination that took him the 600 win. But he's really having to work hard for this one because McWilliams senses there's another victory in the bag for him here. And he's right on the back wheel of Jim Moodie, and he could just pressure the Scot into doing something silly, moving out onto the wet. The straight now totally dry where it matters, and that's the outside half, the outer half of the straight as they go down towards Paddock Hill Bend. And my guess is that McWilliams will make a dash on outbraking into the turn, because it seems as they go into the last lap that the Yamaha of Jim Moodie is every bit as quick as the Suzuki, and possibly a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think Jim Moodie does have the speed advantage. Look at that, absolutely sideways. That was caused by accelerating too hard, too fiercely, the back wheel spinning and coming sideways. That could have just unnerved him and given McWilliams the edge. It's very difficult to say. Moodie is a very aggressive rider. So's McWilliams, and this last lap's certainly going to be hectic.
I was about to say, Roger, I don't think unnerved is a word that Jim Moodie understands. We've seen him ride all over the place, and he really is a very, very hard rider. Gets away with an awful lot, but he is at the peak of his form here at the moment. But look at McWilliams making a bid, a very serious bid round the outside, and he knows, he'll have his pit signals, he knows that this is the opportunity he must take if he's going to do it. He's gone past. They're heading down now towards the little chicane. When they exit this bit, they'll be through it. There they go. Straightening out the chicane, it's still Moodie. McWilliams is really going for it, diving for the inside line, and he's through on the inside. Breathtaking display by McWilliams. He's got the measure of the Scot as they come down under the bridge towards Clearways. Roger Burnett's holding his hat on here with amazement. It's good stuff from these two. The 400 having a scintillating finish. It's Moodie again back in front. McWilliams doesn't know if he can do anything about it. I don't think so. It's Moodie by 5 or 6 lengths, gets the checkered flag, and that indeed was one of the very best 400 races I've ever seen, albeit between 3 and latterly 2 men. But there's your winner, Jim Moodie. Jeremy McWilliams cannot but acknowledge that victory.
Jim Moodie picking up the 20 points that goes to the winner. Jeremy McWilliams in second place, and Steve Ives significantly third after a win at Snetterton in the first round and second at Donington in the second round. So it's Steve who leads after 3 rounds, 52 points, a 14-point lead from Paul Brown, with Jason Vincent third, currently on 37 points.